Well, I'm sitting down, relaxing and shit, just listening to some music that I made already a while back, and it came to mind, It goes like, why, while laying down there, listening, watching music, would I be still, being spiritually attacked, or spiritually attempting to be conditioned, through spiritual means, So, and I'm analyzing this aspect of myself while I'm sitting there, right? And essentially, what I'm figuring out is that why would the body be a trajectory for an aimed attack? Because to attack my person, to attack my being, to attack my identity, to attack any aspect of me is to attack my body, essentially, because the body is the vessel. So you can't attack my being without the damage showing up on my body. So anything right now that while I'm sitting there hearing music, listening to music, and I'm like tuning into these other frequencies that I exist in, obviously, these other dimensions of myself, and my ear gate, that's one of them, and I'm trying to maintain the selective hearing aspect of myself on my music, right, and the message in it. But then my mind started talking and conveying to me, hey, in that instant, why do you think though, that and this is what came to mind is like, why would the body be the trajectory for an attack? And if you think about this, like the two hidden verses that they took out of the Bible were essentially feel yourself in the moment, believing what you're believing, and it'll be. So essentially, why while I'm sitting there feeling myself in that moment, hearing the music and tuning into that, you know, what about that could disturb that aspect of my moment? Because essentially listening to music is like manifesting, right? So if I hear some music, I'm letting my body feel the embrace of what those words are conveying in a message, in energy. I'm absorbing it, transmuting it, and then spreading it out through my being in a way that's productive for me. So if that's what we do every time we listen to music, right? That's the whole point of feeling good. Like, that's what I'm doing while I'm laying there. So, again, and then this factor came into play again. Here's something that is focused on me. Here's something that is listening to me. Here's something that wants to engage with me. Here's something that's trying to create a doorway for there to be an open line of communication that, first off, I've already tried, is just going to ignore the shit out of you. It will never answer you back, and anything it does say, it's going to expect you to read into its words, and it's just going to stay focused on its own topic. So it'll be like a subliminal conversation in broad daylight that you yourself have to internalize and listen and to interpret and become aware of. But again, the whole factor of why would you be trying to put more stuff on my shoulders while I'm sitting there doing the very two things that this Bible verse says, feel embraced in the emotions of what you want while you're asking yourself, letting yourself see it, feel it, basically achieve the moment, and then your body and mind do the rest of the navigating and get you there, So in that moment, for me, all it was is just being in that moment, hearing the music and the message that was conveying. So it was very easy for me as an equation, But then more variables fell into the equation. Like, I'm just laying there, you know, but I'm aware of my body and I'm aware of my being and I'm aware of my existence. So I'm noticing my existence is noticing something else in existence while I'm trying mostly just to selectively hear my message and music and tune everything out. But it's insistent upon this open line to be established. So my body is nudging me like, hey, what do you want to do about this? Hey, what do you want to do about this? Hey, what do you want to do about this? And again, all these are associations to whatever aspects of ourselves we need to utilize to possess ourselves or to get over being the one who is oppressing oneself, these are associated results of fear, and the moment fear is applied and these factors show up in yourself, you know like, you're too scared to realize it, to see the truth in the matter, so but this is a direct result from fight or flight. So I'm laying there and they're making sure that this message is drilled in me, because every day of every moment is constantly like, hey, can you come over here and perform for us? Can you let us feel the pull of your atmosphere, even through means of communication, because we feel the vibe. If you feel good, we feel good. If you get mad, and we're like, hey, oh shit, what's going on? Or we're like, hey, maybe he's just being honest with himself. Hey, that was cool. You know how to be honest, Or you're being authentic, self-discovery. I mean, whatever management of that, have you noticed the entire time? Was there something there insisting on you deciding something or arriving at a decision or a choice internally yourself? Because I felt it. The entire time something was trying to stop me in my tracks and get me to think about it. So it's like this like a sound wave just constantly here. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that humans cannot measure sound waves. We have ears to hear and we hear what we hear, but technology doesn't want to claim that it can capture these sound waves as well. Or is this just it's more about being tuned in, and everybody essentially in complete truth sees it all. And some people just depend on the fact that they don't have to relate this and then convey the differences to anybody. So thus gives you this certain complex of perception, perspective, and for most this inclination to want to state something or relay some way, and if you guys have at all measured these other influential aspects of ourselves, you can factor in that they were an entire time trying to give trajectory and navigate your conversation for you rather than allowing it to be as free and as open and without a point, because their whole thing is to get you to fight for something and then making it right or wrong. Either way, people will be against you. So, and that's their whole point, while I'm just here being clear, clarifying. But my rhythm, dude, I really gotta focus on my rhythm. That's about the only thing right now that they're so content with. Like the fact that I don't observe my rhythm makes this heavy chestedness feel there. It makes me tolerate when they do shoulder or become this weight on my shoulder. I just sit there and I just tolerate it constantly, until eventually my body can't take it. My mind goes in that direction and gives it word form, and then we're hearing this entire conversation going about whatever, saying however. But essentially, yeah, it's just alignment, and it's so crazy just to be present, and being present doesn't require thinking, doesn't require feeling. You're just present. It's like a computer analyzing, taking in information, doing all that is doing so perfectly you don't even notice it. Now, in too long, we've gotten in the way of our own machine. So we got to learn how to bypass those standards that the aim of humanity has, created and caused us to see in ourselves as stumbling blocks rather than, stepping stones, in phases through ourselves. Society impedes this perspective that we carry for ourselves to want to show and represent. So this need to also identify and hold an identity and arrive at something worthy, and having to juggle the factor of being that, like, all along the mess was always seen and all along it was known, but then when we're shown, somebody takes advantage of the mess being barely shown to us, so they decide to trigger us. Oh my god, I didn't know that, I didn't see it, could you believe it? So, and then in that state, you just get this perspective of so all along the wrong was already seen, and I just stepped into it, walked all over it, rolled in it, did a whole performance, and then they told me, like, the whole time, that was the whole point. Just realizing what it already was. So when you were saying something, you really meant nothing. I was just too sensitive and made it something because you really meant nothing, So if that's the clarity in the self perspective, it really brings me back to myself. I'm empowering myself. I feel good in that perspective, So if it was just me, back to me, where am I at? Who am I? Why have I existed as a runaway train that, even though we have been, tempted and presented the temptation to try to identify or hold an identity, all of reality of every single moment understands one thing: how lost you are and how much that's your home and that's how much you have and own that you don't even know, So in that sense, though, I mean, I think you're free, So you got to be careful for those who don't necessarily find themselves yet ready for the freedom, you know. But those who want to juggle something, back to the moment, being present. So I see how my presence is what's hacked. You know, that right there was, in some aspect, I think they try to capture some emotion that I was displaying or some display of performance or character or cues. Like I feel my face just constantly going through all this, like, you know, this here, like I don't know what to call it or make of it, you know, but it's just me, you know, and I could do the all this and still be like there is absolutely nothing going on. Yet, I've lived my whole life watching people and navigating because of these very same cues. If they went, huh? Oh, what happened? What did you see? Or did I do something wrong? Or did something happen? Wrong? What's going on? You see my ghost, my what do I call him again? My animal nature showing up, getting that less communication and more just the cues, behavior analysis, talking to the silent observance rather than interesting themselves in actually being present. They're present, all right, but their presence is a disturbance. So if we've lived in this nature of disturbance our whole life, it isn't nothing new, you know, but I was made to go through the phases of thought and emotion that seem to cause people to believe an escalation, even embrace it, internal feelings of an escalation. Thus, when somebody has the ability to hack me and they understand how human reality works and manifestation, what happens when somebody just inserts immediately an emotion and a thought pattern in my reality, especially if I'm so susceptible to being possessed and influenced. So, and I understand manifestation. Like I've already experienced the places and the times where I didn't want to be there and I felt like something was there, magnifying, showing me that what was happening, while at the same time depending on my remaining calm. But whatever works from inside doesn't remain calm. It just loves to give you this push. Because, I mean, have you guys ever felt motivated to get up and do anything throughout your day? You know, that push is the drive. When the drive kicks drive, you know go is go. So if I do have my success factors, so finely tuned that they have served my enemy, because I know I can achieve success, you know. If I wanted to just pick up a pen and a paper and go, you know, walk and find random people that maybe might find whatever association I might find being of self-interest, and possibly even better than that, maybe not just self-interest, but more than a self-interest, you know, to the interest of others. Not even at that having a magnifier focus on self-interest, you know, probably more tuned into the interest of others without really looking at my own, you know, because, I mean, what for me would be fine is somewhere simply to lay my head. And when it comes down to having to quench some thirst, or possibly even a little bit of nutrients, you know. But other than that, that's very basic, you know. I mean, as far as my aspirations go, that's successful living to me. Knowing that right there, I already feel successful, you know. So if I could do that, if I could juggle that, that'll be my foundation. And then building off of that will be my focuses, my attentions, my concentrations, my directions, my instructions, my navigations, you know, my trajectories, you know, my possibilities, my potentials, you know. So all these aspects of myself, you know, where I see and perceive. Because at the moment, I mean, look, I'm being theoretical, but theoretical in a narcissistic, pessimistic, manipulated, and possessive kind of way, where I need your mind to believe what I tell it to believe, rather than I'm just here being myself, you know, not noticing anybody or anything that wants to do that or anything of that sort, yet constantly wanting to perform, because I know one thing, I'm a man of action and I got words in my mouth, so I have to do something with them. So performance is about the only thing that I'm really looking to magnify and sharpen in myself, and in all this is the whole practice of this. Yet to get to the best side of myself, I have to go through myself, you know. And most people tend to say worser than that, you know, just to attain progress, because sometimes you gotta let go of some things to make room for other things. You know, we all understand the navigations of life. We've all been handed the Yeah, you had a perfect work record, but now you've been fired. Now you have 2 complaints at your last job. Now you have 3 incidents that were cataloged or, reported or seen or perceived or amplified, implied, whatever it is that, notions you to perceive yourself all of a sudden having to not just be more strict and disciplined with yourself, but ultimately look at how the world will deal with you and do that so that they don't have to. You know? I mean, look at me right now. They showed me the best way for me to be myself is to isolate myself. I've lived in a room that's been only so big, I've lived in just rooms being changed into other rooms, just to be rooms that, again, I'm just talking about, and all these rooms have served the same purpose, just to provide a place to meet these 3 very, very basic necessities, lay your head, a place to meet the criteria of thirst quenching and nutrients. So essentially that's basically what it taught me. So now, I mean, I'm not here trying to do anything or say anything, but I have captured something that I wanted to, myself develop. And then I had the rest of the world step in and try to interfere, and they called it all these other kind of things, instilled all these other kinds of ideas, talked about all these kinds of perceptions and perspectives and categories as if they were professionals, all the while being here just to not be here, so they could see here just to not be seen here. And so it leaves us with a certain amount of knowledge accumulated where we now understand the excuse they gave the rest of the world was that I caught it from my DNA. So if all my intelligence is just me tuning into my DNA, then that means there was somebody else here, that all the aspects of myself and my DNA that I didn't know were being manipulated, used, directed, influenced, and were all the means that I myself left as open doors or behavior that needed to be managed, or ideas and beliefs that needed to be managed. Because, I mean, all along it was more of a pursuit, I was shown how to be professional. My whole life trajectory was aimed at to being professional. Somebody thought it would probably be a good idea to deviate that professional life, and now we're here. Stuck, me with all my professionals still inside of me. But I mean, I know it. I live it. I sharpen it. I utilize it. I mean, I embrace it. Because what is that? Measurement, self analyzing. I think computer mode 1 2 3 0 1 0 1 0 1. Oh, I mean, what is it? Is it me selling you a personality? Making you believe somebody else's story narrative, I mean, because we already know it's all performance. So, who's embracing, their belief system a lot more than the person in their reality conveying ultimately what is not even their job to convey or say, but because you think you're here for a purpose that wants to blame or find something to blame because that's the only way you can be seen, look good, or make a person look the way you want them to look. So this is where we're at. And I so went from one inside point to being myself to being dragged again out, huh? And I like to have all these records, these documented experiences, It just shows me a lot. It gives me a lot to be able to look back at and see. Though I see that I'm also not inclined within myself by whatever influence it is to actually do that. That only happens when I find myself more in a negative state of mind, where I need to be brought more into a positive state of mind. So I turn to myself to help myself bring myself back where I need to be, though I still bring you guys along for the ride, and you guys are about taking advantage of any perception or any emotion or any vulnerability or any place where I've left weakness, or where you guys have stepped in and carried in the entire scene so as to Basically almost see it like a blip in one's own life, because everything that was presented in that moment is not even you that who can account for it. It was somebody who stepped into you and brought it all for you, made you look one way, and then disappeared, and you're stuck with the blame. And it's happened to countless citizens, countless people, countless experiences. I mean, the records are there. You guys have all this machinery up now. It's all technology, right? I mean, I'm just experiencing the technology of God, of our creator, of existence, of the universe, however you guys relate it, of my own conscience making, however you guys want to get lost, found, hang around, whatever your guys' deal is, because apparently my job is to juggle everybody, because conflict is already gonna come. Your interest is just to make me look either good or bad, and by default, whatever becomes enemy becomes enemy. That's your guys' job. Me, I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and I'll tell everybody about your guys' perceptions, your guys' dump load of me, on me, about me, on everybody, and so on and so forth. Anything else you guys feel like, relaying, conveying, saying? Well, from one cult to another cult, because it's people that want to remain secret and hidden and not really get to discover themselves, you're a cult. You're an occult personality, person, existence happening. That's what you become. Because if I want to stay hidden, if I want to keep to myself, I mean, what I'm hearing you guys saying is that I'm occult. Or I'm my own cult to myself. I mean, what else is TV? I mean, whoever's cult I wasn't before you guys had no problem with it. Now I'm just the one who is feeding myself rather than being fed. Hey, well, thank you guys for your time, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I guess I'm trying to pull out the best of my hand, performance, and use all you got. That's what life is about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, eh? Have a good rest of the day.